I'll let you begin.
Okay, this is our final conversation on Star Trek Picard, Season 2. We've now finished all 10 episodes, so we're ready to digest this series. And if you notice, the meeting invite said ST:DF.
I
Do you know what
did.
that stands for?
I don't have any. I don't have any
Mm.
clue.
It stands for dumpster fire. What I mean by
I'm
that.
glad you're being objective here.
Okay,
That's important.
well, let's start with the plot.
Okay.
Question 1. What actually happened in this show? What actually caused the timeline to go wrong in the first place? Can we start with that?
I mean, it's not going to make much sense.
Just backtrace and what actually happened.
Okay. Well, I would postulate that the timeline skewing was a gift from Q, similar to
All good
all good
things?
things, all good things.
Okay, yeah.
So that gave Picard the chance to put things together and recognize the new Borg Queen was actually a friend and not a threat. Though the clues were kind of there because she was using non-lethal means to take down the Starfleet people, that were attacking her way back in episode maybe 1 or 2. I know you want this to make sense, but
Yes,
this is
desperately.
science fiction, so
Okay.
they reference how science fictiony it is. Well, I was thinking specifically about the FBI guy who comes in and says, "Oh, I like science fiction. It's got to be a little extra."
Oh, that was a fantastic episode. Yes.
Yeah. We've seen all sorts of different ways in Star Trek for time to skew.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's immediate and you suddenly in another alternate universe. Sometimes you make decisions and you see echoes of the past or shadows of what might happen, that sort of thing. So this is just another flavor of temporal mechanics that you can learn at the academy.
What did Q do?
Actually, not much.
Okay.
Because in the very beginning, before any sort of starting happened, we know Rene Picard went to Europa, picked up a life form,
yes, brought it back,
and most of the season was like if she would do that or not.
Right.
She ended up doing her mission and setting things back that were.
That's right. If I were to be maximally charitable to the plot of the show,
I don't think you know what that means, but go ahead.
Here's how I would interpret it.
Sure.
So Q initially went back in time and became the therapist of Rene Picard in the therapy office.
Okay.
And did successfully convince her not to go on the mission, which caused the bad timeline to happen. And all of that was for the purpose of getting Picard to see that timeline and making him and the crew go back in time to that same point and stopping Q himself from doing what he did, what he wanted to do.
It started to skew at that moment right before the self-destruction of the USS Stargazer. The self-destruct sequence is counting down.
Yeah.
And then, someone says, "Look up," or Jenna Grian. There's a song that's playing.
Yes.
And then instead of blowing up, they get shifted over to the timeline. It's the alternate timeline.
But
so you're saying,
and Q does that, right?
Yes, but he also disconnects them and keeps them from the proper timeline to the next one, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's grant all that. Let's just grant all of it. So the plot of the show doesn't really matter.
The point of sci-fi is to put all this code shit in some sort of science fiction, but they're trying to say, Picard is deeply scarred by what happened in his past, but by actually facing the terrible, terrible, terrible trauma of his childhood.
Yes.
Then he can forgive himself and live a full life. Now, what does that mean?
What does that mean for a 100-year-old man to be resolving childhood issues at that age. How much longer does he have left?
True, but I mean, he has died like 2 or 3 times, and he's still walking,
Well, he's a cyborg being now. Also,
right?
he has in fact died already.
Well,
He,
he's being stabbed through the heart,
and you're to blame.
technically.
Okay, let's tackle that a little bit first. Let's go to a very serious matter, which
Okay,
is mental health. We learn that Picard's mother committed suicide because she was mentally ill,
right.
which means that 400 years in the future, we've made no progress in mental health
Well,
or counseling for children or spouses how to deal with these things.
I would argue that there was plenty of help to be had in the 23rd century or whenever Picard is growing up.
Hmm.
And the father didn't call anybody. He just decided to lock his wife in a room. And he didn't decide to say anything to his son, like we're
Yeah.
locking her in there for her own good or for the good of your good or her good or anything like that.
So you're saying the father is still very much to blame because he never alerted anybody to his wife's behavior or sickness?
We could also say, there's plenty of original Star Trek, there's plenty of the Next Generation where
Hmm.
people go crazy for no like good reason.
Sure.
I
I'm
was
not
just watching,
suggesting that mental health would be completely solved. I'm
right?
just saying that like these are mental health issues that we have maybe in the 21st century, but like thinking that we've made zero progress by then. And now that you bring up Next Generation,
Yeah.
this also means that in the 7-year time span of the Next Generation,
Hmm.
Counselor Troy, who is an empath, was never able to tease out this information from Picard.
Now I'm glad you brought that up because I thought you were going to be much, much more critical about that weeks ago. Well, I mean, I
Uh-huh.
can again. I don't want to be an apologist, but it can make sense. She is the ship's counselor, and
Hmm.
she describes that to Vash. That I don't understand. Doesn't the captain tell you about every little thing? And she says, no, the captain's a very private man, only if it is mission specific.
Uh-huh.
And they go over in this season 2 that even his best friends call him captain. He doesn't have like he keeps people at a distance.
Sure.
And they even mentioned that at the very beginning that like even a most disciplined mind can have a callus that even a full betazoid can't
Hmm.
penetrate. So maybe because Captain Picard is not just one in a million humans to be a captain, maybe he's one in
Yeah.
a million captains to be the best representative of humanity. He could come up with this like, well, adamantium kind of
You're
again.
blending together multiple franchises here with
Well,
Adamantium. I like the crossover with Battlestar Galactica with the actor
mm,
who played Gaius Baltar on Battlestar Galactica, one of my favorite characters. I like seeing Gaius Baltar in this show.
that's not his name, but okay.
That's a deep cut, I know, but you
No,
should
no,
watch
it's
Battlestar
just
Galactica. Yeah. Oh, by the way, didn't Picard have a brother, Robert
yeah.
Picard? Where is
Well,
he in all
well,
this?
in one sentence, they said that he was off to school,
Okay.
probably in London or something like that, or probably
Yeah. Yeah. And then Robert calls home and says, "Papa,
he's
what?
Sorry about that.
What is that?"
My mom is calling me from Vegas, actually.
That's the Vegas ringtone.
Should I answer it or you? We'll edit this out.
Okay, edit that out.
Yeah, mom, you just left a few hours ago. Okay. Okay, I love you. Yes, bye. Okay, have fun.
Isn't that eerie? We're talking about mothers and sons, and
No,
the son
everybody
checking up.
has. That's something that you can make a show about because everyone has parents.
But no, we were just talking about Robert calling home and checking up
Oh,
on his mama.
that's true. That's a little creepy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
but like there's boarding school in, kind of like a Hogwarts kind of thing in Europe.
Just a complete immersion, complete
Right.
disconnection from your home life. Just really immerse yourself in school.
At Hogwarts, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's get back on track. Just general observations about the show and themes and writing. Let's talk about writing.
Okay.
The show is all filler, and they don't seem to know how to deal with stuff that could really be interesting if they just develop it a little more, or they're unable to discern what is supposed to be actually interesting and what is not. The perfect example of this
Yeah, go ahead.
is the Europa mission. The Europa mission is the linchpin of the whole story.
Right.
And how much of the Europa mission do we see?
Well,
what do we see?
You really tune into Star Trek to see space. I mean,
do we see what the spacecraft looks like that lands on Europa?
Well, I mean,
do we see Rene Picard set foot on Europa?
Wouldn't I forget? Is Europa the ice moon?
I think that is the moon that has like oceans of methane or something. That it's supposed to be able to support life in some way, something like that. Yeah. Right. But yeah, do we see what the alien organism is? What does it look like? Where?
It's just like might be microscopic from all we know.
Okay. But wouldn't that be interesting to explore?
No, but they don't know life. Okay, yes, in real life.
Star Trek?
Show, no. We already know there's aliens on other planets.
Uh-huh.
Why do we want to see what could be only seen on a microscope, or whatever like that?
Oh my God. And so all we know about the Europa mission is what, it's glossed over by Guinan in 2 sentences, offhandedly telling Picard what happened in the end.
Well, I mean, we're told by that Talion, I don't know.
Talon, the Watcher lady. Yeah.
We're told that her entire life, or 20 some years of that life, was dedicated to this important mission.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what happens when the mission doesn't go when the mission goes bad. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's an afterthought, really.
Oh, okay. All right.
But, I mean, since we've already seen, you get into the problem with the prequels of Star Wars, in that they have to figure out what the 21st century StarCraft would be, and they already spent all their money making a fleet of 25th. They're not 24th ships because they have Borg integrated stuff from season 1.
You're saying because the rest of the show was so brilliantly made that just like the Europa mission, we don't need to see any of it. It's just implied that it happened, and it's everything else that actually matters.
I'm saying that your imagination outshines all of Hollywood, in that it would never be up to your expectation. So why bother?
Okay, I have another example then.
Okay,
what about Adam Sung's daughter, the artificial clone girl?
Right.
Do we know a single thing about her?
Did you see the last episode?
What is she actually? Oh, I saw the last episode.
Okay.
Wesley Crusher appears.
Sure.
And invites her to be a traveler with him.
I knew the travelers would come into play. It was just too much.
I get so.
I got them mixed up.
Yeah.
I got the Watcher and the travelers mixed up.
It does seem like the travelers and the Watchers are related somehow, right? He said something about that, like they're supervisors who they dispatch or whatever. But man, Wesley Crusher with one of the most bizarre deliveries I've ever heard.
I mean, it did seem more like Will Wheaton instead of like Wesley.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what it sounded like? Will Wheaton hosts like a behind-the-scenes show.
That's true. Yeah.
Where, he interviews all the actors, and his interviewing voice is like hyper enthusiastic and almost gushing over the actors. And that's the exact voice he used for his performance on the show.
The last time I told a joke, I inadvertently changed a century's worth of history. So I work really hard to not be misunderstood.
If you haven't streamed the 2 episodes side by side just to see how much they align, I highly recommend it.
It was weird. And I mean, the whole thing at the end where there's a giant sector-wide, like,
oh my God, yeah.
that came out of nowhere.
Apparently, in the last 10 minutes of the show, we
Right.
learn the actual reason why the Borg went there. That was to stop this space vortex. But let's come back to that, because that's literally the last 10 minutes. We
Okay.
are suddenly introduced to this very important plot point.
But I mean, we've seen that thing before, where that's actually kind of mundane and every day for like a fleet to come together, save the universe, that sort of thing.
Okay.
What Picard is trying to do is like have actual stories about actual people, and not have the actual spaceship stuff.
Actual stories about actual people. Okay, so take the examples I just said and throw them out the window as uninteresting and not really germane to the purpose of Picard. So what does Picard give us instead? What do we get instead?
Drama. Drama.
Okay, let's go. Let's count the ways.
Okay.
You remember the subplot about ice, and Rios gets captured by ice?
Not really.
And then
no.
Raffi and Seven tracked him down and got him free?
No, not really.
Was that necessary to show? Did that advance the story?
No, that happens in LA.
You remember when Picard and Guinan got detained by the FBI guy?
Mm-hmm.
And then they convinced him to let them go?
Sure.
And we never saw the guy again?
That we know of.
Did that advance the story in some way? Remember when Adam Sung set a booby trap of drones that would fly and explode? That would blow up the rocket that goes to Europa? But then Rios hacked into them and stopped the drones?
Sure.
Was there a point of that?
Yeah, I mean, it killed like 5 to 10 minutes. It ran down the clock.
So that's drama, is it?
That's drama, yes.
That's writing. That's screenwriting.
I don't know if you don't harp on the particulars of how this is supposed to be. If you're looking for Star Trek: The Next Generation, you have those. I mean, I just watched Silicon Avatar. I just watched Darmok.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you're looking for The Next Generation, when you're looking at Picard, you are always going to be disappointed.
But then why make Picard? Picard is Next Generation.
No, I think you made that. I don't think they've ever said that.
Oh, I see.
You made that leap on your own.
I think they're making that leap in season 3.
Right, but they haven't. They're not. You haven't seen season 3 yet. Tune in.
Okay.
Season 3.
All right. Tiny little sidebar here.
Okay.
Let's see. The Borg Queen / Agnes takes over the ship, and she assimilates some special ops soldiers, and they board the ship.
Yeah.
But the good guys, they activate an emergency combat hologram in the shape of Elnor for some reason. The show is trying so hard to make us love Elnor, and I don't know why. We've literally seen nothing of him except him chopping heads off. I don't want to see any more of him.
Well, I mean, who's going to bring the violence, though? That's what kids like.
Okay, so here's my question. Elnor, the hologram, prefers to use a sword.
He should have been shot right away, because if you have 3 special forces guys shooting at you with bullets that travel much faster than reaction times of any humanoid, he should have been shot dead.
But may I ask,
a hologram?
What is the point of shooting a machine gun at a hologram?
Well,
And,
he does have he did have a little thing on his shoulder, which looked like
oh yes, a mobile emitter from
right.
Voyager,
But how
which
would they
was
have that?
29th century technology.
Well, yeah, well, yes, but how would they have that in the Confederation version of that ship?
Right.
Considering, that Starfleet would never have a Voyager that goes to the Delta Quadrant and back. So
Right. Listen, let me check my notes.
okay.
Where are my notes? No, it's my birth certificate.
Does that need to be renewed or something?
After a few years.
Okay. Can we talk about how Guinan kind of sent Picard a message, like through the FBI basement kind of thing? After Q.
Sure, we could talk about that.
I mean, I wasn't really sure which one of her powers that was, because she did recognize, she did the little hand thing.
Oh yeah, she did. That's Guinan's powers to repel a Q, and she also does a weird pagan ritual that's supposed to be able to summon a Q.
I thought it was going to be like one of those, like you wet your finger and you circle around a crystal and you make it resonant, and then
sure, yeah.
But it caused a whole earthquake.
Yes,
it shook the building, and probably like the surrounding buildings too. So
yeah, and apparently Guinan can telepathically communicate in that way.
Well, I mean, is it telepathic? I mean, if you could see and hear them, is that a telepathic? Because the other guy couldn't see it.
The other guy couldn't see it. Only Picard could see it, and it
but
was
the lights were flashing. I don't know if it was for both of them or not.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the other guy saw.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, like what are you looking at, Picard? Why are you looking that way? I don't see anything.
Right.
One little nitpick about the Borg, and this whole idea of the Borg traveling back in time in order to get a head start on assimilating humans, or whatever, head start on assimilating, that never made sense to me. I thought the whole point about the Borg is they want to assimilate your biological and technological distinctiveness.
Right.
So, because the whole thing is that the Borg are not able to invent their own technology. So they can only assimilate technology and then integrate it into their own.
Right.
So if they go back in time...
I'm sorry, but are you talking about First Contact? The movie?
First Contact, and also this, because the threat here is that the Borg Queen wants to assimilate Earth and, get busy assimilating the Alpha Quadrant 400 years in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if the Borg just assimilate humans before they invent anything, they would not really gain anything that way.
Well, she only needs the one ship, though, the Mermaid. La Serena?
La Serena, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. She only needs that one warp-capable ship, and she could go anywhere she wants. And she'd be in the heart of the fertile Alpha Quadrant 400 years. Because it's not just Earth, but it's all of the 100 of species that's in the Federation that gives Federation the strength to make Starfleet, to oppose Starfleet in the 24th and 25th century. So if you go back in time and take humans out of the equation, there is no Starfleet. And then they could pick off all the other worlds in the Federation one by one.
But they wouldn't have the same technology then.
Right, but they're not getting anywhere with Starfleet. So they sent in the movie First Contact.
Yeah.
They went back to First Contact and tried to stop First Contact, which is exactly a similar thing to what they're trying to do here.
Yeah,
the Europa mission is so important that's why it was targeted, because if you don't save Earth then, it doesn't become the birthplace of the Federation in the future.
Let's explore briefly the logic of Adam Sung trying to stop the Europa mission. He wants to stop the mission, and he knows that Picard is standing in his way.
Right.
So the best he can come up with is to hit him with his car. Now, I think there's a more efficient way he could have done that.
Well, he was aiming for her, and he hit him. He was aiming for Renee.
Okay. Either way, I know of a more efficient way he could have done that. He could take a neurotoxin from his lab and
Mhm.
rub it on his hand and shake hands with Picard at the dinner party. You know, whether it's Rene Picard or Jean-Luc. Shake hands using a neurotoxin. Who would have thought?
He maybe it took him a little while to get to like murder one-on-one, face-to-face kind of thing. He didn't want to get his hands dirty, figuratively and literally. So running over Rene Picard or Captain Picard was kind of a last-ditch move because his plan was. I forgot what his plan was at that point.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't he call in a bomb threat to the launch facility? Just like make a call. You could stop the launch.
Yeah, I know he definitely had enough like money or whatever
Hmm.
to get to have FaceTime with the person, so he could get the mission control too. He could just walk in.
Right.
He didn't even need the transporter on the ship.
He has all kinds of access.
He said that to the new Borg Queen. I can get you to mission control.
I can get you mission control. Yeah. And there was a laugh out loud moment for me in there, which was the astronauts of the Europa mission go into quarantine for a few days before the mission. But on the last day, they break quarantine right before boarding the rocket.
Well,
The Watcher lady actually says they break quarantine on launch day.
Talon, you can just walk into quarantine?
They break quarantine on launch day.
But here in the show, they're walking through a random hallway past security guards without any masks on, and they're saying, "See you, yes, see you
Yeah.
later."
I'm not. I know it's hard for you to not nitpick about this kind of stuff, but every episode of Star Trek has a sort of, just go with it because we're telling a story and we got 44 minutes, so let's just get on with it.
I feel like what the stuff I'm bringing up is not really nitpicking, though. It's a little bit like greater, a little more than that. These are pretty serious things. And here's another one. So Rios decides to stay in the past
That's a big one, right?
because he just didn't fit in the future.
Right. That's yeah.
Yeah, he says that his whole life he was just running around on a cargo ship with holographic versions of himself. Now, if I recall, he was the captain of the Stargazer before all this happened.
Right.
And again, it's just a tiny disconnect with what the writers believe about being in Starfleet. You won't be given a command of a starship if you don't have a fundamental sense of duty to Starfleet or a sense of duty to your ship.
Well, yeah, but true love. Hey, and
You
she
don't-
spoke Spanish.
You don't just say, "Oh, I want to stay here. I just met this woman." The Stargazer, they don't need a captain. They'll figure it out. Send my best.
Yeah,
them.
well, I will argue that in Star Trek 4, they do just kidnap a woman from the 20th century to the 23rd century.
That's different. And
How?
that, they could have done that. Why didn't Rios bring the lady and her bratty, stupid kid into the future?
They could have done that, but the 21st century world needed fixing. So that's where they were needed.
Oh, yeah.
They needed a free clinic, and they needed someone to analyze the space gunk from Europa to
Right.
save all of Earth.
About that, yeah, it turns out that the little boy, the son of the doctor lady,
Right.
is the one who figures out what to do with the organism that Rene Picard brings back, right? And he uses
Yeah,
it
you didn't see that coming, did you?
That's a huge twist.
Hmm.
And so he uses it to solve all of our climate problems. It cleans up our climate.
See? And you
So-
were worried about climate change.
Yeah, the moral of the story is we don't need to work towards solving climate change using political reforms
No.
or social change. We just need to find an alien organism.
And
And
let it
that'll-
loose
That'll solve it.
in Earth. Let it loose.
Yeah. So No way to solve climate change using just our own skill
No.
and ingenuity and effort.
Well, no,
No. Okay.
because the universe is a tapestry,
Uh,
which is perfect and beautiful, but so
but just
extremely fragile. It needs.
but you have to step in. You have to know exactly when to step in
Yep.
to set it right. But it's perfect.
Yes, it is perfect.
Why didn't Wesley Crusher appear like earlier in the show to tell Picard that the tapestry is loose and step in earlier?
Hmm. That would have been nice, but he maybe as a, I forget if he's a watcher or a traveler now. He's a traveler?
I think he's a traveler.
Okay. Then as a traveler, he knew it would work out. So what's the big deal?
I see. So he
And
knew the.
Q wasn't trying to kill us anyway, so he was just trying
Uh,
to. The only way Picard can learn a lesson if you sever the timeline and have a bunch of needless deaths.
that's the only way to teach Picard a lesson.
Right.
It's to
Because
threaten the universe.
In Q Who, Picard is so ready to meet all the life out there. Q whisks the Enterprise away,
Mhm.
and they run to their first Borg cube. And like 80 some people died during that encounter.
Sure.
And even Picard says that lesson could have been learned, if not so bloody. And then Q says, "Well, what's a little blood?" He had to learn a lesson. He had to ask to be saved. That sort of thing.
Hmm.
A kick in the complacency.
Taking the complacency, yes. Well, in this timeline in the past, they've killed like 12 or so people in total.
A couple dozen, I would say. Yeah, probably.
Do those people matter at all in the course of history? Like,
Apparently not.
apparently not.
Yeah. Just putting together a quick body count.
Mhm.
There was a French police officer who lost his spleen.
Right.
And I guess you can technically live without that, but how did they return him to a French hospital without anybody like noticing?
Don't know. Yeah, there's that guy, the police
Right.
officer. There was the guy at the bar killed by the Borg Queen.
Right.
And then X number of special ops soldiers.
True, but they weren't really going to give, have kids and start families and that sort of thing.
All right. I guess they wouldn't. I guess
Right.
not. Yeah. Why would they?
But it is weird that Soon gave a general a call, and he
Mhm.
suddenly gets a special forces like
Just
a Black Ops team in a matter of hours, like
In
faster than you could get a pizza.
minutes.
Right.
Yes.
They come in and say, "Who do you want to kill? We are down for anything." So,
Oh boy.
that was a bit hard because he was discredited as a doctor, earlier in the season. So like his reputation was already out there as a madman.
That's right. He lost all his funding. They
Right.
wouldn't fund him anymore. But yet he still apparently has all the money in the world. So why does he need funding? I don't know. He's
Well, I don't
still
know.
able to
Maybe
do all this
because,
stuff.
maybe because there was a little Easter egg after he loses like everything, so to speak. He pulls out a classified thing about Khan.
Khan. Project Khan.
Right.
That's his next thing.
Apparently so, because like he could get it over and done with, started over and done with, all before First Contact happens, which is only a couple of decades from now.
Yeah. Khan.
Wrath of Khan is a great movie.
It certainly is. So Q, I have no idea what Q's function was really in this season. Who is Q? What have they turned him into? I'm not going to say that they've ruined Q for me exactly. That's what I'm telling myself. This is a different character that we saw here. So
I mean,
Q,
if you go back to what Q kind of there were hintings even during the Next Generation. I mean, he came close to death before, so like dying for real this time shouldn't have been that. He's intelligent enough to know that death, whatever death is,
Mhm.
and he came close to death before.
he came close to death because he became a mortal,
Right. He was
right?
kicked
And
out of the continuum
he
and
kicked out of
stripped
the
of his
yeah.
powers.
He became a mortal being, and it has happened before that a different Q decided to end his own life
Hmm.
on a Voyager, right?
And that was his hero. That was his role model.
Yeah,
And
but
the Q killed other Qs who was like that Ashley girl, one of the Q episodes. There was a blonde girl that came aboard and
oh right, yeah, and Q
Q
was
was tempting her
testing. Yeah, that's right.
to use the powers, right, of Q.
So, but in all those instances, you could understand what was happening. Like the Q that took his own life using poison. You understood why he was doing it.
Hmm.
You understood what was happening. He made himself mortal, and then in his mortal life, he ended that life, and that is what happened. What is happening with Q now? What is it?
Well, I don't understand how his powers are draining.
Hmm.
Or like, did he decide to end his life and he wanted to give Picard a gift of letting him open his heart to love after a lifetime or several lifetimes, 2 lifetimes at least,
Sure.
of being pushing away people?
Uh,
Because
I,
that's what it seemed at the end, like in the solarium,
yeah.
where they're just having like a quiet kind of talk. I mean,
Right.
all of the urgency and the desperation and that sort of thing seem to disappear because he made it, like he did get it.
I have no clue. You
But I
know,
mean, he slapped a card. He never slapped a card, and it seemed like he was the one that was personally hurting over this whole thing. He was desperate, and
yeah, yeah. He was saying something like, cut to the chase, and the chase is cut, and it's bleeding, and I'm merely a suture in the wound."
which you
Uh,
enjoyed.
Well, I enjoyed John Delancey's performance, of
Mm,
course, always,
mhm,
but this
mhm.
is a different character. The character of Q that I know and love is half serious and half funny and like I don't know, lighthearted.
So a puckish
Oh,
rogue kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah, he's having fun with humans. He just wants to toy with them. That's what he does.
Well, I mean, there should be some sort of reasoning behind it, some sort of like if
Sure.
he like it's not just rats in the maze kind of thing.
Oh no, the reasoning behind it is a trial, and the trial never ends, right? And this was another part of the trial, maybe. But then what is happening to Q, and why? He says he's going to die alone. Why?
Well, he said he was going to die alone, but
Hmm.
then he got a hug out of Picard, meaning that he's not alone.
He's not alone.
Yeah, he
Okay.
got a hug from Picard. Do you know? I can count on one hand how many people get a hug from Picard.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah,
No.
and actually, at the very, very, very end, you actually see the Q like icon in the sky. You see, the snap kind of when Q snap, they
Oh,
do
in the
that little.
ending shot, I thought there was like a little warp signature.
No, I mean, I'm thinking I know I just saw it like half an hour ago, but
Right. Yeah, I
uh
remember seeing that tiny little dot. I thought it was a ship going to
no,
warp.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't a ship. That was just a Q's symbol. That
Hmm.
has been mistaken, that have been mysteriously missing from the entire season too.
Interesting. You think that was Q doing the thing, doing the
Like
Q thing?
yeah.
Maybe.
But maybe he
Uh,
decided to end his own life and he just wanted to give Picard a final gift or a farewell or something like that. There
Final
may be
gift.
no other like reasoning to it but we've seen that before with All Good Things.
Sure.
Because like would Picard ever join his crew for a game of cards before that? No. It took severing timeline into 3 separate parts and him fast forwarding or backwarding through time
Hmm.
and saving all life on Earth and all the Federation to realize, oh wait, life is precious. I should play 5 card, nothing wild, sky's the limit.
Okay.
No, you don't feel like that at
I
all?
don't feel that. I didn't get that from watching the show.
Mm.
Now, in the last 10 minutes of the show,
Mhm.
we suddenly learn that there's some kind of huge space vortex that's about to spew out a bunch of energy.
Yeah, we don't know what that is.
We literally didn't know about it until the
Came
last
out of
10
nowhere.
minutes. And that's the actual reason that the Borg ship came there,
Mhm.
because they wanted to shield the galaxy from it.
It
'Cause
said
this-
it was a galactic event, but
It's a
then it said
galactic
it was
event.
a sector. It was like something in a neighboring sector, or it would
Well,
affect the
I think
sector.
the exact words were, it's a galactic event,
Mhm.
it's in the center of the quadrant, and
Oh,
if
okay.
it spews the energy, it would threaten the whole sector.
I'm picking up a massive spike in neutrino emissions, focused on the center of the quadrant.
Enough to destroy most of this sector.
That's a galactic event.
So a few different terms.
Yeah, very
spoke about,
different. That's like using feet and miles and
And
light years
yes,
in the same sentence. So
yeah. But let's suppose it threatens like a fraction of the quadrant of the galaxy. Now, okay, it starts spewing energy, and it could be seen from many different planets. We see different vantage
we do
points
that, right?
from different worlds. Now, light travels at the speed of light.
By definition, yes. So that's-
Our galaxy is about 100,000 light years across. Where exactly is this happening? And where is it being observed from that we can see it in real time from different planets?
True, because we do see Andorian like antennae in
Mhm.
one of those shots. So
Yeah.
we're meant to, and it is in the middle of our quadrant, the Federation. So you're right, but subspace, if it's traveling through, if it's a subspace distortion, then it can travel instantaneously or near instantaneously.
Okay.
But to be able to see that with your own eyes is kind of new.
So the big Borg ship, it needed to synchronize its shields with the other Federation ships, which was
explained
maybe
why they said they needed power and not
that's right.
your biological and technological distinctness will be added to your own. We will grow.
But so the Federation fleet was maybe 20 more ships.
Mm-hmm.
So the resulting shield was not that much bigger than just the Borg shield would have been.
Yeah, and the Borg shield was much bigger than any of those other ships.
Yeah, but apparently it shielded the galaxy from the beam of the anomaly.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
perfect.
That's yeah. That worked out. And
Except,
you should be grateful it worked out.
Except the Excelsior had some problem with its shields, so they called up the Excelsior and told them to recalibrate their shields.
Mm-hmm.
And who answered on the Excelsior?
Fresh cadets.
It wasn't the captain of the Excelsior, or maybe the science officer, but a random cadet who graduated from the academy a week ago.
And then he's on the bridge.
On the bridge.
With a contact with alien.
Yes.
Species.
Yep.
You're right. But I mean, you're right. That's unlikely. But I mean, what was weird is that the first time we had the self-destruct sequence, Raffi was on Excelsior with the Elnor.
Yeah.
And then she must have beamed over real quick and asked, "Hey, guys, what's going on here? What's the deal, huh? Are we gonna self-destruct or not over here, huh?"
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. She doesn't have the same attitude as everybody else in the entire Starfleet.
She has no clue what's going on.
Well, that's her role. She gets to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm still digesting because it brought in a bunch of Easter eggs and stuff, and that's a lot of people, they cling on to that. Sorry, Klingon.
Klingon.
Yeah. There's little scraps here and there, like the fact that Renee is still reading the same Dixon Hill book that she was like a week ago or something
Yeah.
like that, and she brought it to the rocket for some reason instead of actually paying attention to what she should be doing.
She's a big fan of Dixon Hill.
Well, I mean, like that's we saw it once, and it's kind of. You mentioned the Roshenko guy
Yeah.
on the medical
Yeah.
hospital for no good reason, like.
Easter eggs.
So it's when these Easter eggs aren't really there for this call about then. It's so chock full of Easter eggs that you kind of have a cookie that has so many chocolate chips in it.
Yeah.
It ceases being a cookie and it's more chocolate chip.
Right.
I mean, a lot of problems with both, I think, Star Wars and now Star Trek is that there are so many, send-offs and so many connections to the throughout the trilogy and that kind of stuff. They can't tell a new story. They just have to sprinkle in stuff that they know the fans are going to latch onto.
But this is just 100% that stuff. There's not even an attempt to go in a new direction, go further with something.
They took like 20 ideas for what would have been a normal season of the Next Generation. They packed it in to, they got rid of all the nice little clean endings of episodic TV, and they put into that, more
exactly.
details.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are interesting, valid ideas in the show, each of which could be extended into a season of television. We could have had a season's worth of the Europa mission and what happens, and like track the progress of it, all from launch to them going to Europa and finding the organism and discovering what it does and how to use it to solve the climate, whatever.
No, I mean, that wouldn't have been, first thing, that mission would have none of the principal people in the show.
Oh, okay.
So you can't have like
we can't have that.
Well, the only person we would even recognize by name is Renee Picard.
Mm-hmm.
And for half of the season, we didn't even know she was Renee Picard. She was just some blonde French woman.
Okay, so we just always need something anchoring us to the original stuff that we know. The
stars of the show that we're watching. Yeah, because it's their show.
Uh-huh. You could have a season's worth of, the Borg Queen going to the past and being loose in Los Angeles. What do you do? There's a Borg Queen roaming around Los Angeles.
I know, but that's more of a TV movie than what you're talking about there. That's 2 hours or 1.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's an episode and a half. There's two episodes, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're cutting that apart and spreading it throughout the entire 10 seasons.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I like my analogy that it has more chocolate chip cookie in it than the cookie part. Or I have to work on that as a saying.
It's chocolate covered something for sure. Yes.
Okay. You still you're still hate watching it, which I don't.
Oh, this show has very successfully tapped into the hate watching audience.
Well, I don't like the sign of you. I don't like the side of you, quite frankly, because you like dancing around. It's like your book burning days where you're just dancing around a fire, half naked. Delighted that you digested the message and no one else will get to.
I just cannot understand why they're doing this. Who asked for this? Who needs this? Why are they keeping this franchise alive, Weekend at Bernie's style? Well, okay, I can give you a little bit of a positive note.
Oh, thank you.
To end on.
Good,
I can be positive
I have
too.
been waiting for an hour or so.
Okay, here's a positive note.
Sure.
I actually sat down and watched the first episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Okay, that's
also on Paramount Plus, yes.
Right.
And it's not bad.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So I spent all of season 2 watching this with you.
Yeah.
So that you can get me hooked on to another show on Paramount Plus.
Well, okay. I say it's not bad as compared to Picard or Discovery.
Okay, so does it have the feel of the original series?
Well, so I'll say this: I watched the first episode, and then the episode ended. It was a self-contained episode of television,
Yeah.
and I was satisfied by it.
Oh,
We
I
got
think your problem is that you need an end. You need episodic TV.
we got Captain Christopher Pike.
Mm-hmm.
He commands the Enterprise.
Yep.
They go to a new world.
Uh-huh.
No one
Once a week.
dies.
Right.
Nothing blows up.
Uh-huh.
They just go and establish peace on a new planet. That's all that happened. And I was shocked. Yeah, and I watched it.
You were shocked by what?
Shocked that that is still possible to show. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's possible.
That this is still possible for Star Trek to do.
So it's been so long since that you've seen that.
Yeah. Right. So I say it's not bad. I'm not sure if I'll keep watching this because I think the reason it's not bad is because it's very literally a remake of an original series episode. It's relying 95% on old Star Trek and what happens in old
does
Star
it
Trek.
does it rely on the formula or does it rely
Yeah, exactly.
beat? Okay.
Right. It's the formula. Everything I just said. Going to a new world,
right.
Establishing a peace accord, and then some kind of goofy things happen to other characters.
And everything's fine at the end. Nice episodic.
Exactly.
Instead of epic, where a storyline can last 10 episodes like a crazy person. Am I right?
And still doesn't end.
Well, it doesn't end because there's season 3 coming up.
So I really like the actor who plays Christopher Pike. Also, he's very good. His name is something Anson Mount. Anson Mount. He's a great actor.
I think I saw him. Well, I didn't see him much, but he was on Discovery. I think.
Yeah. Right.
Starting that.
So yeah, there's your positive.
Okay. I mean, are we going to leave it there?
Well,
I'm a little loopy because I just watched 4 episodes this morning. But
okay, that's all I can say about Picard. What can we predict for season 3? Something about Khan, maybe, because that was.
I don't think so.
No, you don't think?
I think that's just another Easter egg that they try to squeeze in there.
They just dropped it for no reason. Okay.
Khan, the whole eugenics thing was supposed to happen in the 1990s, way back in the 1960s. But they pushed it back a couple of decades. They squeezed us in, no problem.
Okay.
But the eugenics war is all done with, and Enterprise had a whole eugenics plot to it, and a whole different Brent Spiner.
Well, okay. So I assume that in season 3, Brent Spiner will play another Soong ancestor.
Why would you?
Several Soong characters in a row will be played by Brent Spiner.
Mm-hmm.
The space anomaly, the transwarp conduit that just appeared, will surely play a role.
Well, we kind of had of some of that from the season 1. The Romulans were worried that we were going to make some sort of connection with something that's a great destroyer or something like that.
Yeah, they opened up a portal to hell, and then something started to come out of it.
Right.
But it came out so slowly that they had an hour to seal it back up, and it was fine.
And I mean, did they analyze anything that came through that, or just? I can't even remember now because I think didn't it snap closed and leave the tendrils of it?
Yeah, it must have snapped off.
Right.
Right. The tendrils. No, nothing.
So we got no clue there. I mean, I would hope somebody there, one of the executive producers, will put together season 1 and 2, and then maybe season 3 would be brilliant, where they answer all these questions that you keep on having.
Maybe
take all these nicks that you keep on having.
Maybe season 3 will be just everything I've ever dreamed.
Sure. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I do like playing devil's advocate to your. You have a lot of.
I know how difficult your job is.
Well, no. It's not difficult. I do like being a brick wall to your tennis player that has no one to play with.
Uh-huh.
So that I just keep on bouncing things back in your face, and without putting much effort in on my end. So
Yes.
if that's entertaining to you, if you're getting something from that, I guess that's time well spent. But I hope you actually take some things to heart. That it's just a TV show. There is a moral kind of lesson there to that life is fragile and time is finite, and you make the most of that, and you don't have any regrets. Because the French song literally translates, I think, to I don't know.
I have no idea. I
It's
thought you knew French.
something like I like do not regret. Je ne
Mm.
regrette rien.
Don't you speak French?
Only 5 years worth,
Okay.
but I still know more Spanish from Sesame Street
Uh,
than I do French.
I see. So if Agnes became the Borg Queen or melded with the Borg Queen
Mhm.
and went off to create a better Borg, like a better, kinder, gentler Borg, doesn't that mean that all of their encounters with the Borg in the future would have been, like more positive, more different?
No, I would think there's two different Borg now. One that Agnes controls, which is a small pocket Borg,
Uh-huh.
because obviously they didn't have the huge cubes, because they're not assimilating whole worlds and taking their fleets and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So she does only get the scrapes of like people
Oh,
who
so
are
maybe
they're near death, like Seven was.
so they're taking, like, give me your weak and your
huddled
what is
masses.
it, huddled masses. That's what they're taking.
Yearning to
Back
breathe
to immigration.
free.
Mm,
Immigration, right?
okay, taking it all the way back to that.
But
So
that
maybe season 3 will be about the two different Borg factions clashing together.
it could be, but I doubt we're going that far back into the Delta Quadrant again.
Okay.
But like maybe Seven and Picard, like that's the only reason they get together is to have these Borg meetings. They're the human experts on the Borg,
Mhm.
being, post assimilation kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, till next time.
Thanks. Right.
I will see you later.
Okay.
All right.
See ya.